It's time to settle the debate once and for all. Traditional education or self education? Which one is better? Now, I did not go to university, as you might know already, and I'm not a big fan of the traditional systems of education. However, I give a lot of importance to education, but my mode of educating myself is self education, which is basically accessing resources that are available all around us: books, podcasts, online courses, etc., to educate myself. And I'm on the team of self education. And through this video, I'm gonna dissect every single reason why I believe that self education is superior compared to university education, and why, if you are someone who believes only in the traditional systems of education, you are at an utter disadvantage. So let's dive right in. So, first things first, the traditional roadmap. Let's dissect this. From a very young age, all of us are told very similar things. You and were probably put in a school, an institution, when we were very young. I was probably 3 years old or 4 years old when I was put into an institution. And I studied in the institution, the school, for almost 14 years. And the advices that I received from people around me were pretty generic. They said to me things like, pay attention in class, get good grades, be diligent with your tests and assignments. And then, after you're done, you go to university. And then, when it was time for me to go to university, the advices that I received there were pretty generic too. You might have heard them. You write your tests, you do your assignments, you maintain a good GPA, and then at the end of your university phase, you hope to find a good job. Now, your school will set you back 10 to 14 years, right? And your university, depending on what course you've taken up, what career path you've gone down, is going to take you anywhere between 3 to almost 9 years in some cases. And then when you do have a job, finally, which is the dream, right? You work a 9 to 5, you live frugally and below your means, you save your money, and with the money that you save aside, you take 1 to 2 vacations a year, and then you retire at 60, and then you enjoy the fruit of your hard work and the fruit of your labor. And this, for most people, it is about 3 decades, 30 years of your life, right? Now, this is the roadmap, the traditional roadmap that has been imposed upon us ever since we were young and naive. But I disagree to this completely because it fails to take into consideration a crucial question. And this crucial question is, what is your dream life? Right? This is the crucial question that you cannot overlook at all, because if you do not know what your dream life is, how are you going to materialize it? If you do not know where you want to go, how are you going to get there? Right? So, my bold claim is this: I know what you want, I know what your dream life is. And I might sound crazy, but let me explain. The reason why I say I know what you want is because what you want is what I want also. And it is what everybody else wants. And what that thing is a great quality of life. Now, what do I mean by this? A great quality of life is simply life on your own terms. And this is where things get nuanced. And this is where what you want and what I want and what everyone else wants is separated. For example, if you look at just health, the big umbrella is you want good health. You want to be healthy. No one wants to be sick, right? So, what is good health for you? Good health for you might mean you want to be able to run, you want to have a body that is flexible, that is free of disease. Well and good, you're allowed to have that, right? A good health for me means I want to have a physique that is aesthetically pleasing, that is strong, that is mobile, that is agile, and highly athletic. Now, what I want and what you want versus what someone else wants might be different. But generally speaking, it is the same because you want health to be on your own terms. I want my health to be on my own terms, and someone else will want their health to be on their own terms. This is why I say what you want and what I want and what everybody else wants is the same thing. And this same thing is basically the freedom to choose, right? So, you and I want to choose the kind of health we want. You and I want to choose what kind of finances we want, right? Nobody wants financial distress. All of us want financial abundance in life. All of us want to have good people around us. We want good relationships with the people around us. All of us ideally want to be indulging in work that is meaningful, that is fulfilling, that interests us, right? I mean, if I am put in a position where I have to work at a job which I'm not interested in at all, I would be bored out of my mind and I wouldn't be happy at all. And this would mean that I would not have a good quality of life. So, the bottom line is you and I and everybody else wants the same thing, which is a great quality of life. And what a great quality of life is, as I said before, is to have the ability to choose and determine what exactly we want in every single area of our lives, right? So I'd like you to do a little thought experiment with me. See, I've taken a course called Lifebook, and I've spoken about this in my previous videos. It was a 6-week course, and the premise was basically I get really clear on every single area of my life. If I'm talking about health, if I'm thinking about the kind of health I want to have in my life, I go really deep. I'm talking artistically detailed. How my body looks, how flexible I am, etc., for sure. But that guy, the mentor that I was learning from, made me think about the texture of my hair and the color of my teeth and the quality of my nails and what's not. I mean, I hope you're getting the level of detail I'm talking about. And then when you talk about intelligence, you're talking about, do I know about the history of the world and the chronology, not just the origin of the religions, but the chronology in how they came into being, the skill sets I want to develop, etc. So basically, it was a 6-week course where we went really deep on every single area of our lives. Now, this I'm inviting you to do in a very concise fashion with the aim of developing a life vision, a picture, an image of your life, of your dream life that you would like to have in the next 3 years, in the next 5 years. Now, see, there are, as you can see, I'm just pointing this out, there are 12 categories mentioned here, right? And the reason why there are 12, not more and not less, is because these are the categories that have been identified, which, if you think about and if you write down about these, you probably won't miss out any area of your life. And that's a great thing. I mean, you might have seen very rich people who are fat and obese, right? They've succeeded in one area of their lives, but they failed in another, right? You might have seen very fit people who do not have financial abundance. They've also excelled in one area of their lives, but they do not have excellence in another area of their lives. You might have seen fit and rich people who have bad relationships with their family members. They've succeeded in some areas of their lives, but failed in another, right? So the goal is to have a quality of life that is truly uncompromised, that is well rounded, holistic. So these are the things that you must think about, which will ensure that you are not overlooking any aspect of your life. So the first one would be your health. Think about your health. If you can, for every single category, take the time to list down exactly what you want. And I'd like you to do this exercise, and it's called limitless thinking. And as the name suggests, there are no limits. Anything you want anything you want to have, anything you want to be, anything you want to do, nothing is off limits and anything is possible. If that was possible, what would you like to have health wise? What kind of physique would you like? How would you like to look like? How would you like to feel internally because of the body you live in, right? How intelligent would you like to become? Would you like to be smart enough to be making $10 million a year? Would you be smart enough to learn how to play the piano, learn how to play the guitar in a fraction of a time that most people take? Would you like to be intelligent enough to know exactly how to deal with your spouse, how to keep them happy? Would you like to be intelligent enough to make sure that your kids are raised right, that they are instilled with the right values, with the right ethics, etc., etc.? You can go really deep. And then your emotions. What kind of emotions do you want to feel? What kind of emotions are you not willing to feel? And your character. What are the character traits that you want to develop in your life? Do you want to be assertive? Do you want to develop authenticity so that you can live an authentic life? Do you want to develop punctuality? Do you never want to lie and you want to have radical honesty in your life? You can think about your character in depth and create an image, a vivid vision for the kind of character you want to develop. And then your spirituality. See, I believe that there is a higher power that created everything in existence, the stars, the seas, the forests, the trees, everything in existence. And I too was made by the same creative force. Not only am I a creation, but I'm also an extension of the same source energy. This is what I truly believe. Now, this doesn't have to be your belief, but it's great if you can get clear on your own religious or spiritual beliefs. Are you a Buddhist or are you a Christian? Or do you believe in Islam, right? Do you follow Islam? Or do you not believe in any of these religions? Get clear on the kind of life you want to have with regards to the faith you want to choose and operate with. And then comes your relationships. First and foremost, your romantic relationship. Would you like a romantic relationship to begin with? If you would not like to have a romantic relationship, well and good. You know what you want and you can have that. If you want to have a romantic relationship, what kind of romantic relationship is it? Are you attracted to the opposite gender or are you attracted to the same gender? The kind of person you want to date, what kind of person is he or she? Is he kind? Is he generous? Is he thoughtful? Is she supportive? Is she nurturing? Does she add to your peace? Right? So get clear here too. Get clear on the kind of partner you want to have and the kind of person you have to be in order for you to keep that partner. And then your social relationships. What kind of relationships do you have with your family members, your mom, your dad, your siblings? Are you harmonious or do you not get along well? Ideally, since this is limitless thinking, you have a vision for your relationships that adds to your life, not takes away from it. You know what I mean? You'd like to ideally have people who support you, who encourage you, who teach you things, etc., etc. What kind of people do you want to have around you? And what kind of people do you not want to have around you? I never want to have people around me who lie and cheat. I never want to have people around me who are not progressive, who are complainers, who whine but do nothing about their lives. And then your children in the next 3 to 5 years, do you want to have kids or do you not want to have kids? If you want to have kids, how many kids would you like? How would you like to raise them? What kind of beliefs do you want to instill in them? What kind of values do you want to instill in them? Get clear on these. And then once you're done with your relationships, you can go on to think about your finances. I'm sure you would never want to experience financial distress, right? I mean, that would not be a part of your ideal life. So get clear on how much income would you need to sustain the kind of lifestyle do you want to have. Do you want to have $2,000, $3,000 coming into your bank account every single month? Or do you want a slightly extravagant life and you want to have $50,000 coming into your bank account every single month? Or maybe even more? It's your life and it's going to be your vision. And get clear on the kind of finances that you want to have. And then how are you earning the income? Are you working at a job? Are you a doctor? Are you a lawyer? Are you working in some hedge fund? Or do you want to run a business? It could be any business. You could be doing pottery business, you could be running a bakery, etc., etc., whatever business it is. And if you are running a business, is it a physical business where you sell products to people who walk into your stores? Or do you want to have the business operating online on the internet? Get clear on that. Whatever lifestyle you want, the finances, the income part of things need to be congruent. So get clear on that. And then the work and the mission that you want to dedicate your life to. Now, this doesn't have to be really deep, right? You just want to become one of the greatest musicians, one of the greatest guitarists to ever walk the planet of the earth. Or you might want to be a force in fighting climate change. Or you might want to be someone who is doing incredibly well and doing fantastic things for children, especially orphaned children, and that's the mission that you want to serve in life. Whatever it is, because honestly, this work and mission, this is a very important part of your life in the fulfillment equation. You might be making tons of money, but if you're not fulfilled with the work that you're doing, it's going to be an empty life, right? So get clear on the kind of mission that you want to do. And then the quality of your life. This is basically, where do you live? Who do you live with? When do you wake up? What kind of food do you eat? Do you train? Do you train hard or do you train lightly? How often do you train? What kind of vacations do you take? How many vacations do you take in a year? What is the car that you drive? See, this is limitless thinking, right? So get clear on the ideal life that you want to have. And then the vision for your future. So 3 years later, everything you want to have comes to pass. Then what? Then what are you striving for? So this exercise, if you do it once properly, you should have an ideal vision for the kind of life you want to live. And chances are you will come up with a description that is unique, something that looks different than everybody else's, like it should, because it is your life that we are talking about. Your life will never look like my life. Your ideal life will never look like your best friend's life, or your sibling's life, or your mama's life. You know what I mean? It is your life after all. You're a very unique individual, and your preferences will vary for sure. So ideally, you've come up with a picture, an image, a description of the ideal life that you want to have. Now, the question is, how can you craft such a life? Right? That's the endeavor. So let's reverse engineer things. Now, the logic is extremely simple, and I need you to pay attention to this because this will explain why I do not like university education. And if you are someone who is a product of the university education, you are severely handicapped. So the logic is simple. You can learn a certain something from someone who already knows how to do that certain something. For example, if you want to learn how to bake, you go to learn from someone who knows how to bake. I won't be a good teacher or a coach when it comes to baking because I do not know how to bake myself. So I can't teach you how to bake. It's fairly logical, right? And then if you want to learn how to drive, you go to someone who knows how to drive and you learn from them, right? Now, if you want to learn how to make money, you learn from someone who already knows how to make money. The principle is to learn how to do a certain something, you need to go and learn from someone who already knows how to do that certain something, right? This is logical. Now, the endeavor and the place where we're going to use this principle is simple. You want to have a quality of life that is holistically abundant, right? To your own liking, of course. So, if you want to have a quality of life that is abundant and you want to learn how to craft that, who should you learn from? It's easy, right? You learn from someone who is already living a life that is holistically abundant, right? So, the logical next question would be, who are these people? Now, for starters, these people are certainly not the teachers and the professors who are teaching in the institutions. Now, do not get me wrong. I have deep respect for all of the teachers who have taught me and all of the professors who have taught me. And I believe that these people are an integral part in the big machine that is the world because they impart valuable education, they change people's lives, and they impart great education and take humanity forward, for sure. But for the most part, these teachers and professors who are teaching in the institutions, they are, at the end of the day, employees. They are people who have been employed by other people to work in these organizations. And for the most part, they do not, I repeat, they do not have a quality of life that we've been discussing all along. For example, if your professor in the university wants to take a vacation to Spain tomorrow, he or she will probably not be able to do that. Why? Because traveling is expensive, right? For one. And then he or she will have to make sure that they can travel only when they have holidays, because if they are gone, who is going to teach the students, right? So, see, what I'm trying to say is most of them are salaried. They are employees in the institutions and they do not have financial abundance. Of course, they'll have enough to get by, but to have that fuck you money where they can do anything they want, anytime they want, these aren't your people. And logically, you cannot learn from them. Now, I do realize that there will be a small group of people who are teaching in institutions who have such lives. But for you to come across them, you'll probably have to go to the top universities in the world. And the barrier to entry to these institutions is going to be ridiculously high. I'm talking about Stanford and Harvard, and I'm talking about Oxford and Cambridge and similar other institutions. Now, I'm not saying getting into these institutions is impossible. All I'm saying is, for the average Joe, getting into these institutions is ridiculously difficult. So, once we've gotten who these people are not out of the way, let's discuss who these people are. These people who have abundant, well rounded, fulfilling lives. There are plenty of people who are living such lives, right? But for you to even know about their existence, you'll have to seek them out and look outside of your college or school syllabus. What I'm saying is, see, you probably have hobbies, right? There are probably things you want to do. You probably play football in your free time, or you play any instrument in your free time, or you go hang out with your girls, or you hang out with your boys, right? And this is in your free time. But when it's not your free time, you are probably indulged in writing tests, studying for examinations, doing your assignments, etc., etc. And for you to even look outside of your own curriculum, it's probably something that doesn't happen very often, right? Now, there are a lot of people who are living and performing at a very high level. And some of the examples would be Tony Robbins. This is one guy who has really impacted me. He has had a rags to riches story. And long story short, at one point, he describes how for Thanksgiving that he did not even have food to eat, right? And now his net worth is somewhere in the $600 million, somewhere there. And I'm sure it's probably even more, but he gives most of it away. And not only is he rich, but he has impacted millions and millions of lives all around the world, including my own. Another example would be Lisa Nichols. I've spoken about her in one of my previous videos, but she also has a rags to riches story and a very inspiring story. She talks about how at one point in time she had a child and she wanted to buy diapers for her son, who was at the time 3 or 4 years old, and she did not have the money to do that. Imagine that. She did not even have the money, the means to buy diapers for her own son. And now she is worth millions and millions of dollars. She's doing work that deeply fulfills her, and she travels all around the world speaking to hundreds of people at once, giving transformational keynotes, and she's a very sought after speaker at this point in time. An incredible story. Another person who I really look up to is Iman Gadzi. Now, Iman Gadzi is essentially my age. He's 25 years old. He faced poverty as a child and he was raised by a single mother. But now he is running in the hundreds of millions of dollars, and he recently became a co-owner in WAP. Now it is a company that recently did $1 billion in revenue in a single year, and his story is incredibly inspiring too. Now these are just some of the many people who have had very humble beginnings, but have now crafted truly abundant, well-rounded, incredibly fulfilling lives. And there are way more people, there are many more people with similar life stories. And you and I can learn from these people and do things comparable to what they have been able to do. What I'm saying is, see, you and I might be similar in a lot of ways. I come from a middle class family and I do not have multi-millionaire parents, but I'm comfortable where I'm at and I have the opportunity to apply myself to make something great out of the life that I currently have. And you might be in a very comparable position. But now the problem is, if you and I are not aware of these stories, if you and I do not know of such stories, such inspiring stories, then we will not understand and come to realize that such massive transformations are possible for us. I have been lucky to have come across these stories, and I am now courageous enough to dream big and to believe in the possibility to have my lofty dreams fulfilled in due time, right? I have been dreaming big for many years, and I'm positive that those dreams are going to come to pass. But the point I want to make here is, if you do not know of such stories, of such transformations, then you might have what people call possibility blindness. You might be blind to your own possibilities, you might be blind to your own potential, right? And that is a bad thing. Now, I need you to note something clearly. Simply because you do not know about these people and their stories doesn't mean that they aren't real. Whether or not you know about such stories, whether you believe in them, is irrelevant. There are hundreds and thousands of people out there living such lives, living such stories right now in real time. Now, the best part is, a lot of these people who have lived these rags to riches stories, who started from very humble beginnings and have now gone on to create amazing lives for themselves, these people have created resources. Resources like books, like podcasts, like online courses, and a plethora of other things. Resources that we can consume, learn from, and apply, and eventually create comparable results, right? So, it is very logical if you and I can learn about these people, learn about their stories, and learn from them about how they did it and just model them, do the things that they have done. Not exactly the same, but the principles, the lessons that they've learned along the way, they've imparted it, and it's open for anyone who wants to learn all those lessons. I certainly am interested in learning these lessons, applying them, and in time having lives that are comparable to the lives that those people are currently living. So, this is the reason why I promote self education. Now, the first point I want to make here is, you can become an autodidact. Now, Google describes autodidact as a self taught person. It's very simple. The idea is, you can teach yourself things. Now, I'd like you to think about this. If you truly decide to learn something, if you truly decide, okay, I am going to learn this, whatever it is. If you want to learn how to play the guitar, you can learn how to play the piano, learn how to drive, learn how to bake, learn how to cook a certain dish. If you truly decide you want to learn that, who is going to stop you? Think about it. Who's going to stop you? There's no one who can stop you from learning any particular skill, any particular subject matter. You can learn anything you want, and no one's going to be able to stop you except for yourself, right? Now, what are some of the things that you can learn? Some valuable things you can learn. You can learn how to change your habits. If you are someone who tells me, okay, I would love to read, I would love to develop new healthy habits like exercising or meditating, I would like to do this, I would like to do that, but I am such a person, and then I'm going to say to you, you can learn how to change your habits. It's really that simple. There are people teaching you how to change your habits, and they work. It's worked for hundreds of other people. It's going to work for you if you truly decide to learn how to change your habits. You can learn how to stay in good health. You can learn how to become more intelligent. See the three people I spoke to you about? Even if you just go look at them and look at the resources that they recommend you consume, and you just consume the resources that they're recommending, you are going to grow more intelligent. They're going to recommend certain books, certain courses, etc., etc. And if you learn from them, learn from those resources, you are going to grow more intelligent for sure. You can learn how to get a strong character. In fact, I have a whole video on this that I can probably link somewhere here on how to get a strong character. And this is a big one. You can learn how to find your purpose. A lot of people put off doing things that are valuable just because they say, I do not know what my purpose is. And I'm going to point you in the direction of a resource that is exclusively for helping you find your purpose. Go and look up Michael Beckwith, Beckwith. Michael Beckwith. He has a course called Life Visioning Mastery. He's going to teach you how to meditate if you do not know how to meditate initially. He's going to teach you how to tap into your intuition through meditation. And then he's going to teach you how to ask for guidance through your intuition to discover your life's purpose. It is incredible stuff. You might want to check him out. Then you can learn how to manage your relationships well. You can learn how to build a strong network of people. You can learn how to craft a great family life. You can learn how to raise your kids well. You can learn how to start and operate profitable businesses that generate a lot of revenue, that generate killer profits, right? You can learn how to grow and manage your money and a whole lot of other things. You can learn anything you want. You can become an autodidact. You can teach yourself things. And when I say teach yourself things, it doesn't mean you cannot learn from other people. When you teach yourself things, you take on the responsibility to learn that specific something by hook or by crook, whether it is through a book, an online course, a YouTube video, whatever it is. You are taking the initiative to learn that certain something. That is what I mean when I say you can become an autodidact, a self-taught person. Now think about it. If you really decide to learn all of these sincerely and put in the time and effort, there's no one who's going to be able to stop you. And burn this idea in your head. I legit need you to burn this in your head so that you never forget this. You can learn anything with or without the aid of an institution. Going to university might be helpful, for sure, but it is not absolutely necessary. All right? So, here are some of the pitfalls of the traditional education system. You cannot choose your faculty members. For example, let me just pull this book up. This, among other things, this book teaches me how to rewire myself and to develop new habits. If that's something I'm interested in learning, building new habits, right? Now, if I do not like how the author's written this book, then I can simply move on to another book by another author and learn the same thing, building habits. If I do not like that, I can move on to then another. You know what I mean? But if you commit to a university and if you are stuck with one faculty member and you do not understand his or her language, you do not like his or her teaching style, then you can't change your faculty. You can't choose your faculty. Then you're stuck with him or her. A bummer, right? So that's one of the pitfalls. Then the other thing is you've got to commit to a course. And what happens is time is involved. And that's your most valuable asset. See, the shortest course you can find, especially for undergrad, right? That's probably going to be 3 years at least. Now you enroll yourself in a university, you commit to the course, and you pay the fee, and you have paperwork involved. And 1 year into the course, you realize that that isn't something that you're actually interested in. Now, what do? You follow through or you drop out. Those are your options, right? For the most part, people decide to follow through. The thought process is, in a very unhinged, unfiltered way, I've already wasted 2 years of my life. Let me waste two more. At least I'll have the degree. At least I'll have that piece of paper. Now, I have a few friends who are going to medical school, right? Some of them are interested, for sure. They want to become doctors. But some of them were forced into going to medical school just because it would look nice and it would sound nice. It would be nice to say to people, okay, I'm a doctor. And more like, it would be nice for their parents to say, okay, my son is a doctor, right? But imagine the quality of life that they'd have to tolerate. It's not even about enjoying a quality of life, it's about tolerating it. Because a lot of these friends that I'm talking about, they're not interested. Of course, they have the brains to get through, but they do not enjoy it. And it's a 5 year long course just for the undergrad, and then 2 to 3 years more for post graduation. And if they want to specialize, I mean, it's a whole decade of studying. They start at about 19 years of age, and by the time they're done, they're almost 30. All they've done is studied, and they do not even enjoy it. So, what's the point, right? What's the fun in that? So, the other pitfall is you have to commit to a course, even if you take up something that doesn't take too much time. For example, political sciences. Say it takes 3 years. You get into it, 18 months later, you realize you do not want it, you do not have any genuine interest in it, you can't drop out. And even if you do, you've already spent a lot of money, you've invested time and effort, and you do not have the degree. And that has a lot of repercussions in the society that I come from too. So that's another pitfall. Then the other thing is, this is the big one too. You have to spend time on tests and exams and assignments. Now, the last time I wrote a test or an exam was 7 years ago. And the last time some of my friends wrote an exam was about a week back. They're still writing some entrance tests. Now, these tests, assignments, they are boring for one, and they are stressful. Think about it, having to stress about exams and not passing some examination. I really cannot relate. And see, because I did not have to write tests, because I did not have to write assignments, because I did not have to write examinations, I spent hours, tens of hours, even maybe even hundreds of hours, hours that I could then put into something productive, something that I'm genuinely interested in. For example, I spent a lot of time reading books, and that wasn't a chore for me, that wasn't work. It never felt like work. I picked up books and read them because I was interested, because it was fun for me. And all those hundreds and hundreds of hours that people spend on tests and assignments and examinations, I got to spend on things that genuinely interested me, which were also productive. So that's a win, right? So think about it. If you are considering going to university, or if you are in university, think about these things. I mean, it's your life. Another thing is, university education is expensive. Now, I don't know if you know this, you probably do not, but right after high school, I was about to enroll myself in an engineering college. All right. And I got in touch with a few universities, and one of them, which looked very promising, which looked legit, looked reputed, renowned, whatever you want to call it, they asked for 25 lakhs upfront just for me to be admitted into the university. This isn't your tuition fee. Huh? The tuition fee would be another 6 to 7 lakhs per annum. And that would be a curriculum, a course that would take 4 years. So 28-ish lakhs there. So 28 plus 25 upfront. You do the math, that's like 53 lakhs, right? And then I had to be in that city. I had to pay rent. I had to have somewhere to live. I had to eat. So that would cost me about 60 lakhs when it's all said and done, right? Now contrast that with self-education. I live in my parents' house. I've lived in my parents' house for the past many years, and I do not pay rent. I do not pay for my food. And the education cost would be purchasing books and purchasing online classes, right? Now this book, this is Robin Sharma's The 5 a.m. Club. And I purchased this for 350 bucks, 350 rupees. Think about it. And this is packed with value, absolutely packed. It teaches you about, I've read this about 7 times. It teaches you about building habits. It teaches you about how to actually become productive versus just being busy. It teaches you about the neurosciences of why people stop right when they're reaching their genius. It's packed with value and it's 350 bucks, right? This is another book. This is Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. And this is a pretty old book and the MRP is 100 bucks. So for these two, I'm paying 450 bucks, right? That's the price of a coffee at Starbucks. And the amount of value I can get from these is ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense. Honestly, it doesn't make sense at all. So you decide college education, which might or might not come to use, because I've got many friends. At this point, I don't even remember how many people I've come across who've told me they've gone to college but have benefited nothing from the university. So you decide, you think about all these things. And then this is important, and this is probably the biggest pitfall of the education system. The cultural thought process is education ends when the university phase ends, right? How many people do you come across who graduate from university and then throughout their lives keep educating themselves, keep learning new things? Hardly any, right? At least in my culture, I've hardly come across people who keep educating themselves once they're done with university. But think about this. I did not go to university, right? But I fell in love with education. I fell in love with self-education. And every month I read about 2 to 3 books, all right? And I intend to keep this going for the rest of my life. My friends went to university and they've graduated and they're probably working jobs. A lot of them are working at jobs. They studied for 4 years post high school, and that is probably the end of their education phase. Versus, think about me. I'm intending to read for the rest of my life. So extrapolate this, play it out over a period of say 30 years, 40 years. We're talking in decades. Huh? In 40 years, the amount of things that I would have learned because I intend to keep learning, because I intend to keep educating myself, because I find education interesting and valuable. Just look at how much more I will come to know, how much more I will learn, and consequently, how much more I will be able to do compared to someone who goes to university for 4 years, 5 years, and stops there and gets busy with his life, working at a job, raising a family, etc., versus someone who reads for 4 decades, 5 decades. Honestly, I can't even fathom the magnitude of the difference that's going to come about in the lives of people who subscribe to traditional education versus people who subscribe to self-education. So that's something to think about too. All right. And the last one, and I shall end the video here. But think about this. The subject matter that are taught in these institutions, the schools, the colleges, the universities, the subject matter is limited to the curriculum that is prescribed. For example, if I am to go to an engineering college, then I'm not going to be taught about political sciences, will I? I'm not going to be taught about literature. I'm not going to be taught about quantum physics, right? And if I go to a humanities college, say I want to study political sciences, I'm not going to be taught chemistry. I'm not going to be taught business. And if I go to business school, I'm not going to be taught how to bake. I'm not going to be taught how to use cameras. I'm not going to be taught how to edit videos, etc., etc. So the subject matter is limited to the curriculum prescribed, and logically so, right? But the downside is, for most people, the fact of the matter is that they go through life with the intellect that they've developed after years of being a part of the traditional systems of education, which is to say they do not educate themselves after university. Now, if a person does not make it a point to continue educating himself or herself, the chances of ending up with a great quality of life is extremely slim. Because, see, for one, you won't be coming across the stories of people who've come from rags and have made it to riches. You won't hear about rags to riches stories in your colleges, right? But just because you do not know about those stories doesn't mean that they do not exist. Contrast it with you coming to know about these stories. Once you know about these stories, you'll start questioning things. You'll start believing in the possibility of you living a similar life trajectory. You going from rags to riches, you coming from humble beginnings to you going to a life with abundance. It's very logical, right? Now, you will downplay your own potential if you do not know these stories due to a lack of reference points. You will not know these stories. And then what will ultimately happen is you will not exploit your full potential. Now, at the end of the day, it's your life. I have no say in it. But if you are someone who is serious about creating a good quality of life, who wants more out of life, who wants to have a life that is not mediocre, who wants an excellent life, and is willing to actually work hard to earn such a life, then self education is truly, truly a non negotiable. Right? Okay, we've come to the end of the video. I just want to say for one last time, self education is a cheat code. It will put you above your competition. See, if you're a young guy, especially, the world is hyper competitive. The car you want, the house you want, the girl you want, there are 100 other people wanting the same things. And you have to compete with the other guys, right? And if other people outcompete you because they outwork you, then guess what? You will be smoked. You'll lose, simply put. So you decide what kind of life do you want. If you want to be serious about creating a life that is truly abundant, truly holistic, fulfilling, well-rounded, uncompromised, then you have to consider self-education. It's not even a matter of consideration. You have to make it a non-negotiable. Self-education is extremely potent and it can and will be life-changing. So if you haven't started your journey already, I highly encourage you start at the earliest. Go to your closest bookstore, pick up a book, and if you do not know what book to pick up, I will probably link a video up here, which is me recommending the books that have most impacted me. And you can just start. So yes, before I wrap up, this is one last thing. I'm not against university education. All I'm saying is just university education is not enough. So don't come at me with comments that say university education this, university education that. I know, all right? I know university education can be beneficial and is beneficial in many cases. You can't become a doctor without going to university, and I see the value in it. But only university education is a strict no no. Having all of this said, I wish you all the luck, all the power, and I shall see you in the next one.